YT Productions.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boys. You gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that SWAC, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to
And live from Rush Chandler Stadium here on the campus of Georgia Tech at McNeese Baseball Park. It's the final, what do we call this? Final bracket championship day?
Yeah, it's the simplest way you can say is put it semifinals.
There you go. Okay, yeah, there you go. Semifinal Saturday, one game to advance to the championship of the SWAC Baseball Tournament. Bryan Fulford, AD Drew, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. First game of today comes up at noon Eastern, 11 Central. That's the number 1 seed, Alabama State Hornets, going up against the number 3 seed, Florida A&M University Rattlers, in the third matchup between these two teams. And these teams have given an epic, I mean, this is like Rocky, Creed, whatever your trilogy you want to use.
It's better than the regular season was.
Yes, better than the regular season trilogies. So it's only fitting that this will be the 9th meeting of the year between these two teams. And then coming up after that, whether it be 3 p.m. or 30 minutes after the first game ends, you get number 1 Grambling State going up against Bethune-Cookman, the magical Wildcats, the whatever you want to call the Wiley Wildcat. I don't know what you want to call them, Doc. How would you describe what the Wildcats have done over these last 2-3 days?
Man, they've been the heartbeat kids, Wiley Wildcats. I like that as well. Since that was my middle school, junior high school.
Nice.
Wiley Middle School. And we were the Wildcats. So it all matches up there. But they have really been tremendous in regards to really leaving it out on the field and making sure that you get that last out. It's something about these tournaments that are fascinating in terms of what is the last out.
Yeah.
Florida A&M forgot it takes 27 2 days ago and not 26, as they only got 26 outs in that game when they were up 4 runs. In the let's put it like this: the FAMU handles their business. We're not even here today.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
In theory.
Yeah, that's true. But the question is would you have had a different type of pitch that came from Alabama State? It's a different way that you play the game in regards in you in the loser bracket in terms of how you come out. They knew they had a game. So if would-haves, could-haves, they're like that. But I think credit goes more to FAMU's ability to get off the mat.
Yeah.
The fact that they, had a heartbreaker and then they come back and play just as hard. I think that's more of, one of the talking points that I would kind of focus on, giving the Rattlers credit by having, as you allude to, having their heart broken, thinking they're going to win a game, and in the 9th inning, they let it get away. They find a way to get another win in terms of going to the loser bracket, and then you face your quote-unquote demons again against this team, and this time even they're threatening again in the 9th, but you get the final out, even after a tough call, what you thought was the out. It was correct because we were over here in the stands. I want to make that clear. We were over here on the left field side, and we saw him, the third base umpire, immediately come up. Now, it's loud in here, and obviously credit to the pitcher. He's focusing on what he needs to, and the batter as well. So he proceeds, but he's 3 steps in. Everybody here is focusing on the play. And I'm going to tell you how much I know where people are focusing, because I'm hearing him, so I'm looking at him. I don't even see the strikeout.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the umpire to wave his hands, and it was the pitch clock.
So I was going to say, so break it down. It was a pitch clock violation that took the strikeout, because I was down here next to the dugout waiting to go on the field and do post-game interviews at that point. And honestly, no one over where we were at, no one
was on that side. He said the same thing.
I was next to Charles. Okay. I was literally next to Charles. No one knew.
Charles Bishop.
Yeah, Charles Bishop. No one knew what was going on, and we never got any indication verbally or signal-wise from our location to help us out. And of course, you should have heard the Rattler fans.
Hey, look,
they were in it, and they deserve to, because again, that's just one of those things where you see 2 sides of it. I happen to be on this side, so I called it clearly, and I'm telling you how much I clearly, because it drew my attention, because I'm like, what is he doing at first? And then, so I don't, because I'm visually looking at him, so it's the opposite of what y'all doing. Y'all looking at the play. I do not see the strikeout. I find out later as I turn around and up here and he strikes out. And then I realized why FAMU is mad, because I'm like, what did they? I'm telling you, my side, I was the opposite. I was like, why are they mad? The dude clearly is like this. And then I realized, I said, oh, he struck out.
And I'll give you the perspective from someone who's watching online. I'm in the car watching online. So for all of us who were at home watching, I thought we had a Maurice Clarett, Ohio State, Miami situation. I'm like, oh, where'd that random flag? I'm like, where did this delayed flag? So it's like, oh, y'all trying to steal one from us. I mean, I tell you what, I mean, Rattler Nation was tied. I mean, I almost drove off the road. I almost had to pull over just because, hey, look. So, I mean. And
we're not even going to tell you what you texted.
That one was safe. Leave that.
Leave it and delete that text.
Yeah, we'll leave that away. Hopefully nobody ever gets your phone or your text messages get cracked. But I mean, an exciting game. I think just from the Florida A&M perspective, it's funny. It feels like this is very similar to what FAMU went through last year, where again they had to battle through. They had some games that they should have won. They lost, blew some leads. They had to go through the elimination bracket. They got to play all the way to the last day or the if day, and unfortunately, they didn't come through. So this for those who remember last year, this is the Rattlers' opportunity to sort of exercise some demons and advance to the championship game.
Well, y'all get too far. I want to make sure everybody says, y'all get excited. We didn't open up the show. This is the simulcast.
Oh, shit.
Right, in AD SportsWrap. And this is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab. On my side of this is episode 396. Inside the HBCU Sports Radio Show and Podcast. The show that's covering sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. From institutions large and small, from the NIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics, facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. We just call it, in short, HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, that are out on assignment. So I brought into the other back end, SportsWrap, Bryan, and AD.
Okay, you be Charles, I'll be Mike. Data. Where's the data? Where's Valley?
With that, I'll let you pick it up so y'all can do a proper introduction for the SportsWrap. Y'all jump in.
Go ahead and give all the disclaimers, Brian.
Oh, hey, look. First off, if you're watching the show, wherever you're watching the stream, if you're watching on Dr. Kenyatta Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab page, if you're watching on the Black College Sports, you're watching it on the SportsWrap, you're watching on the YouTube channel, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, hit the like button. Wherever you're at, make sure to like the stream, share the stream, as we try to give you a short little pregame to get you guys excited about this tournament and this upcoming game. I would say what's interesting about today's game, guys, is the wind. I woke up, came out the house, and I was like, yo, I'm coming from Florida to Atlanta, and I broke out a hoodie and everything because the wind and the cold. I'm like, what in the world? The wind is whipping, and I was kind of
flag.
Yeah, I don't know. Drew
is not standing still at all.
Drew's got an image. Maybe he's got an image pulled up of the outfield. But I was curious to see when we got to the ballpark, Doc, what the wind was going to be, and it looks like it is blowing sort of in from left to right. I don't know if it'll stay that way, but it'll be that'll be interesting.
Very interesting, and Charles Bishop, who's been doing sideline reporting, has coined this term, the urban jet stream.
Urban jet stream. I love that.
It's a factor. It's a factor. In right field, it has played havoc on right fielders coming in for balls to try to catch, especially if it gets up in that quote-unquote urban jet stream. Mm-hmm. So I'd imagine, because we can see it now, it's going to be even worse than what we've seen all week long. Where we had players have the last minute dive for a play and catch it. We saw just yesterday in a game that cost Grambling 2 runs when the guy misplayed a ball because it was twirling up there and drops down. So what you find out about this jet stream, it's one thing when you look at it, it looks like you said that the wind is pushing right to left, facing the field. But it's my understanding when it gets up there, it's twirling.
Okay, wow.
And so it's not just in terms of your normal wind when you think about which way is it pushing, it's moving around up there. The other thing that I thought has been excited about this game in terms of just overall is those guys that have been able to put the ball out of the park. Grambling's player has 3 home runs, and he's hit in the tree. It's a beautiful backdrop.
Yeah.
We have the cities. Yep, cities. You got the trees out there, and so folks are hitting in there. And what you're just talking about is the corners are nice and short, but you go deep field, you go between 382 to 390 in that center field, and those balls tend to go down to die. You've seen a great play by the Grambling State outfielder that was able to go up to the field and get one. But before that game, you saw FAMU have a blast that went deep.
Yes,
go deep and go out center field, clearly 20 feet up in terms of that. So it's probably 420-some feet in terms of that blast.
Where you hit that.
So you've been able to see some great plays. Your shortstop, where do you get that young man from? He's a vacuum cleaner. Anything that comes to him, he's gloving now, and he's able to make every throw. So that's not somebody you want to play with in terms. So they say, yeah, just put the ball in play. Not to him.
And I noticed that left field where you have the John and Mary Brock football facility, and I've heard Roger Cador talk about this during the broadcast on the SWAC Digital Network, which, by the way, let me jump in real quick and say props to the SWAC Digital Network, Charles Edmond, Centuria Black, Roger Cador, Charles Bishop. Great job with what we've seen.
And the camera crew.
This is, I don't know how many actual camera women they have. And
it's a 6-man crew.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, they're doing a great job. There's some great angles that they're picking up. There's probably some stationary cameras. This is
replays also have been on point from the camera crew.
Yeah, this is a ballpark that was created with the mindset of, hey, and obviously this is an ACC ballpark.
So the ACC network, but you're talking about, it's network ready.
It's network ready with plenty of camera angle setups. And this is where when we talk about progressing in HBCU ballparks, as we think about ballparks hopefully getting redone and set up. All of these type of infrastructure things need to be considered. We've seen way too many times facilities be built with no consideration for press box, internet, broadcasting, things of that nature. We are moving into the new millennium of broadcasting, and I hope that as our ADs who are here and SIDs are here, hey, when you build your new parks, have these things in mind. They don't have to be to scale, but you can do certain things.
No, I've taken plenty of pictures because I'm using it in my facility,
Just want everybody to take a look at the two men right there walking in front of that SWAC logo, Charles Bishop and Charles Edmond, Charles in charge down here.
Yep,
Make sure that you can see those. I'm sorry, Doc, go ahead.
No, great point. And so, you know, the facility management classes, and so event management day. So this is an opportunity to really talk about, as you did both on the event management side of it, how do you do that and how do you update your facility? This is a quaint campus, and as you've been in urban settings, those people understand that there's not always a lot of room. So this is packed in here, but it's done really in a way that they get every inch for the most part, and they can continue to do some construction. But in the outfield, as you set up the look, and y'all seen watching this, is you have the trees in the background, which gives you some protection in terms of just everybody being able to see in, but it gives you this rustic look as if you're out in middle Georgia, but you have the construction of the city behind it with the towering buildings. So it gives you that urban setting. But you come into the stadium, you come in back here where you have all what's necessary for your equipment, for your television show, as you talk about. You have your visiting locker room set up there. You also have it set up in such a way that you have plenty of suite access space where you can generate a little more money from your suites. So that's pretty big time when you think about that as well. And so that's pretty cool in terms of what that's looking like.
Hold on a second. We're
working on a couple of things.
Yeah,
It might have been when I went to the shot when I just had the stadium shot on.
All right, is everyone okay? Good now. Appreciate you, Jeremiah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
All right, so yeah, that's all right. We can.
I gotta make sure we stay on the screen.
Okay.
You may have to go back over those.
Okay, no problem. I was just talking about, and I'll make this a little faster this time as we're up on it. But we're just talking about the facility and how it's a really quaint, nice facility, specially set up to make it a rustic look, where you get in maybe looking at middle Georgia with the trees, but you also have the urban compactness of the stadium with the buildings in the back, which is really nice looking out in the outfield. You have a room that was built in terms of a conference center, small setup that's really nice with the television. Real quaint, but it's really nice, upgraded. Then obviously you have your suites that are available, your bucket seats, your bleachers. Plenty of room for visiting and home. Radio, I know would be important for you to talk about. You have the television studio room, and you have, which is separate from your media room. And you have a couple of other suites that are available that you can rent out. Then they have this bigger suite open box that I thought was really nice that you can see from your bigger donors that they call the home plate lounge. And so they took a lot of the modern things that you see in the professional ballpark, but to your point, what did they do? They shrunk it down in terms of what was fit for Georgia Tech. It's fan base, but it's still modern enough to give the modern taste, which is what I'd love to see some of our schools, eventually all of our schools, be able to go to about how you retrofit your ballpark to create other ways to generate revenue, which is always important to you, which I agree with you asked about. But you do it in a way where it's cost constructive, where you can maybe do it over a period of time and you do it within your means to still be able to generate some.
And this park, for those who don't know, it seats about 3,800 people. Of those, there were 2,100 chairback seats. So just slightly more than half of them are chairbacks, and the rest of them are just traditional bench seats.
Yeah, and those bench seats tend to be closer down the line.
Yeah.
Versus
everything
really at the heart of it in the plate, or like you said.
Everything behind the plate is a chairback.
A couple of questions that I've had and I've seen people ask, whether it be on Twitter or maybe even on YouTube here, or if you guys want to see what Facebook is looking like. One, a lot of people maybe aren't familiar with the bracket and how this works, because a lot of people are wondering, well, how is Florida A&M and Alabama State playing for the third time? I know that was Dwayne Sweet had asked me that on Twitter. So think of it like this. When going into this tournament, there were two brackets. There was an A and a B, 4 teams in each. And it's double elimination in each bracket.
Emphasize independent brackets.
Okay, if that's how that helps. Yes, independent of each other. You have bracket A with 4 teams, bracket A, bracket B with 4 teams. And they're double elimination. So Florida A&M and Alabama State, along with 2 teams from the West, were in bracket A. Okay. And over on the West, you have Grambling, Bethune-Cookman, 2 other teams as well over on the B. So on the A side, you have to basically make it all the way through and until once the easiest way to say it is once 3 teams have lost twice, whoever didn't lose twice goes to the championship game.
Correct.
That's the easiest way to think about it.
Double elimination until the championship game, but it's what you call pool play.
Pool play,
and
right.
You have 2 pools, 2 separate brackets, and you're seated in those brackets based on 1 through 4. And always remember, if you're in the East, you're going to play somebody in the West for that first set of game.
Right.
So 1 versus 4. So there's 1 in the East versus 4 in the West. It's in one bracket, but 1 in the West is against 4 in the East in the other bracket. And it goes down from 2 to 3 as well. Great point, bro.
And the other thing, when the 2 bracket winners beat bracket A and bracket B, it is a 1-game winner take all,
Right.
which goes back to 2021. They'll have a years like when Southern beat the undefeated Jackson State team, and everybody was wondering what about the if game. The reason
that's when it came up, but
the reason of that is because they were coming out of 2 independent brackets.
No, they always had it set up.
Yeah,
they've always had it as the championship game, and the first reason that was really an issue is when television got involved.
Yeah,
when ESPN started broadcasting the game, so they would have control of the championship game. And you see most conferences do this now. That your championship game is just a 1-game thing because it's based on the television being able to set up and kind of control what time they can get in and out.
So what you ended up having was, of course, Alabama State rallied, beat Florida A&M on day 2, which moved Florida A&M into the 1-loss category, along with Prairie View A&M. Okay, and so at that point, it became FAMU and Prairie View. Loser goes home. Winner gets another shot at Alabama State, who had not lost up to that point. That's what took us to I won't say last night, but yesterday afternoon.
And on the backside, you had the Bethune-Cookman team, who basically was in the same place. Bethune-Cookman lost their opening game.
Right. I'm gonna go back so we can clear this. We're going halfway through.
Let's save it for the other side. We overdue.
Take a break.
Yeah.
And I'll go back through each day.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a short break here. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap and Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab pregame show live before the SWAC semifinal games.
Somebody is going, down on the other side, somebody going to be happy because they going to the championship.
Here in Atlanta, Georgia, we'll be back in 2.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
All right, welcome back. Bryan Fulford, do a quick shuffling here. Bryan Fulford, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, 83.
That was my fault. I want to make sure y'all got my good side.
There's no such thing for me, even with a good clean haircut. Anyway, all right. So we've got the just handed the starting lineups for each team here in game number 1 between Florida A&M with a record of 27-28 coming into this contest. It'll be the right-handed pitcher Trey Simmons enters the contest today on the season with a 1-3 record. He's had 11 appearances thus far. He started 7, has an ERA of 9.95. Batters hitting .257 against him over the course of the season, pitched 25.1 innings. For Alabama State, with a record of 41-17 coming into the contest, it'll be the left-handed pitcher, Adiel, I think I'm saying that right, or Adiel Melendez, the left-hander. He is 2-0 on the year, 8 appearances, has not started a game this season. That'll be interesting. Has not started a game this year. Has an ERA of 3.80. Opponents are hitting .247 against him. He has pitched in 21.1 innings. So you got a situation here, Doc. It looks like a bullpen game for Alabama State, or at least they're starting with a bullpen pitcher, whereas Florida A&M is going to somebody who has at least started 7 games. So we'll see, how that works out.
Yeah, it can go 2 ways. You would think out of the box. One, in terms of the nerves, somebody that hasn't really been in that role at least this year. How they come up, or you can go the opposite where they hadn't really seen it. And so he can keep some batters off their adjustments in terms of their center, if you would. So it'll be interesting to look at that, but it's a great point you pointed out. As we came to the end, and we can come back and give a little more update on this, is you talked about Alabama State being in the white, all whites, and FAMU being in the orange top as they're doing their long tosses and just warming up to get prepared for this big, what I'm calling the semifinal matchup, obviously games 11 and 12 in terms of the matchup. But we started talking about the game ones and the matchups. I'm going to do from day one. Day one, you had game 1, which featured FAMU defeating, and FAMU is 3rd in the East, which means they would face the 2nd in the West, which is Texas Southern. They defeated them 9-1. The second game was a West 3 Southern, which defeated East 2 Bethune-Cookman 4-2 in the final. That means just off the bat, you had Texas Southern going to the loser bracket. You had Bethune-Cookman going into the loser bracket. Game 3 featured East number 1, Alabama State defeated number 4 out of the West, Prairie View, 11-1. Game 4, the final game of the day, day 1, had West number 1, Grambling State defeat East number 4, Jackson State 8-7. So then you had Prairie View A&M and Jackson State go into the loser bracket. So on day 2, your matchups featured Thursday morning game, which was West 4, Prairie View A&M, which defeated Texas Southern. That was a divisional matchup between rivals. Prairie View got the best of them and was only their 2nd win of the year, all enough against Texas Southern, just to give you some updates on what that looked, which sent the number 2 seed home really early, 2 in barbecue, as we like to say in that vernacular, losing a game 9-6 on Thursday. Game 6 featured East number 2, Bethune-Cookman, which defeated 4 East Jackson State 12-11. Bethune-Cookman started what we've seen now, them coming from behind to win their loser bracket games in thriller fashion. It looked like early on in that matchup that we're going to have our second number 2 seed go home early, 2 in barbecue, but Bethune-Cookman said not so fast, and they send Jackson State home early. Just a couple of years ago, they were in the championship game, so they have some things to search and get right. We'll see what that looks like in that direction. Getting us to Game 7. At East number 1, Alabama State defeat FAMU 9-8 in that winners bracket game, sending FAMU to the loser bracket, which everybody's talking about. And that was the game we alluded to where they scored 5 runs. And we say that's the Hornets scored 5 runs to defeat FAMU. It drove a lot of rattlers crazy.
In the bottom of the night.
In the bottom of the night, yeah. Rightfully so. Bringing us to Game 8, which number 1 Grambling defeats Southern in another West Division matchup. And you notice I put out there on Game 2 that you couldn't get your matchups between each divisions to see which division we could push and kind of declare was better than the other one. You just happened that everything was divisional matchup. And this Game 8 happened to be another matchup where you had rivalries. The Bayou Classic moved again, this time in Atlanta, in a baseball affair, as we saw in the winter, where you had the Bayou Classic on the basketball hardwood for the men go to the All-Star game in Utah. Grambling defeated Southern 7-3 in that matchup, which sent Southern to the loser bracket, sent FAMU to the loser bracket, it sent Jackson State home, but Bethune-Cookman stays in the loser bracket, survive another day. Prairie View survives another day. Quickly, last day, day 3, featured FAMU and Prairie View. Obviously, FAMU defeats Prairie View. That was a 1-0 classic game early in that morning. And then you had Bethune-Cookman upsetting Southern. Southern had played for 4 championships before this loss, and they go on relatively early in terms of what they're used to, but they're out, and Bethune-Cookman comes from behind again to win that game, where we talk about the cardiac cats getting it done in terms of that matchup. Then you had the matchups at night where if the winning team that had not lost, if they won last night, you don't have the games today. You go teams wait, and they go straight to the championship. As we know now, that was not the beat, but you had FAMU defeating Alabama State, where they almost gave up a lead, but to their credit, they held on. We want to make sure we say that. And now we see them playing today at 12, jump things off, and it wasn't done. One game on Saturday was not to be enough. We needed a doubleheader.
Gotta have it.
And so Bethune-Cookman says, no, we're going to stretch it out. They came from behind again, but they did it much earlier in this contest in the middle of the game to get it done. And so Grambling gets their first loss and then forces a second matchup today, which means essentially these teams have seen each other 3 times, a series, if you would, in terms of the tournament.
Now, there are a couple of interesting storylines that we have to look at here. First of all, you've got a perennial blue blood in Grambling trying to get back to the championship.
Are we using blue bloods with baseball? I heard I heard somebody say that.
Can we change it? We're going to call it black bloods.
but when you consider Grambling has the third most overall SWAC baseball championship.
No doubt. Because you got to remember in the SWAC, to your point, there was a time when there were only 3 teams that had won a championship. When I talk about the modern, I'm going back past when you had Houston Tillis in the All-Limited Conference, right? But in the more modern era, if you would, in terms of SWAC, there were only 3 teams. That was Grambling, Southern, and Jackson State. Why you reference it, you have Grambling trying to get back to those days when they were fighting for champions against Jackson State and Southern. So, yes, all of your 3 killer programs that control the conference for a 20-year period are at home.
Hashtag history lesson. History lesson, folks. History lesson.
You got your new blood, if you want to call it that, Alabama State, who won in 2016.
Last 10 years.
And are the defending champion.
Last 10 years, they've been controlling the conference.
Yes, they've
particularly from the East Division, battling with Jackson State until FAMU.
And speaking of FAMU and Bethune, you have the fresh blood in the Rattlers and Bethune trying to get to the the championship game in their second season
Out of the
in
loser.
the conference. Out of the loser. Boy, right now, Dr. Cavil, I'm sorry, everybody's in the losing bracket.
But I'm saying they jumped in there the loser bracket first, so they've had their longest game. So I only put that in is they're deeper in their bullpen for most teams. Because we talked about this yesterday on our show, which was fascinating for people to consider, who may have the edge in that. And it really depends. Because sometimes you'll get a game where a pitcher will come out of nowhere, as you're alluding today, the guy that hasn't had to start. He can surprise you and give you 7 good innings. And it turns all that talk about you into the bullpen early. It flips it on his head because you got extra innings out of somebody that you wasn't surprised to. And that can go multiple ways. So it's fascinating when you talk about all these little data points that you look at. You can go in endless areas in terms of the magic of baseball.
I got a couple more data points I want to get out before I have to jump out and switch over to the Carlos Brown show. All right, here are the storylines that I need everybody to look at today. Will we have, for the first time since 2018, 2 teams from the same side of the division in the championship game? East has 3 teams alive right now. The West has 1. First time since 2018 with Texas Southern faced Grambling for the championship.
We
know we're going to get at least one team
from the East. Yes. Are you asking us, or can we answer the question?
Let me put the different story.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
You tell me which one is the most intriguing and that you like.
Go ahead and answer it before you get in there, because I told you put all of it out there.
We'll forget by then. Yes.
Yeah.
I said yes.
Yes, we will have 2 teams from the same side.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So that means Bethune-Cookman will be one of them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're looking for Florida. I know where he's going.
Yes.
You're saying like I won't spoil it.
Okay. Speaking. All right. So since we're going to talk about that, how about the last time we had 2 teams from the same state in the championship game? That being 2008, when Dr. Cavil's Prairie View A&M faced Dr. Cavil's Texas Southern.
I remember that.
So that's the last time we had 2 teams from the same state.
Okay.
And then I believe
that's the last time Prairie View. That's when Coach Rob had moved over from Prairie View to Texas Southern. And he took the Texas Southern to face the Prairie View team that had won 2 consecutive championships in that matchup. So it's fascinating. I should take that back. Candy Robbins was there. He's still at Prairie View, but he was going to leave the year after. And he lost the heartbreaker because he had players that decided to go out and party, and he did not allow them to play in the game.
Wow. Tough.
Speaking of teams from the same state.
That's when I was a fanboy. I was like, you can overlook that, coach.
Come on, coach. It's about winning titles, coach. Come on now.
But speaking of teams from the same state, only 6 times since the SWAC has gone to the tournament format have teams from the same state faced each other, including 3 times from in 83, 84, and 85 when Grambling and Southern played each other. And ironically, Grambling won all 3 of those. So going back to that blue blood that I was telling you guys about. Black blood. So, and trivia question. Does anybody know when the SWAC switched to the 18 format? What year that was?
No, I'm not involved.
What year? Okay, I'm gonna ask this question a different way. What year did Texas Southern and Prairie View play each other, Dr. Cavil?
2008.
That was the year that they switched from a 16 to an 18 format.
Yeah, I knew it had to be over 10 years.
Yeah.
Nearly 20 years, 15 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be 15 years. Exactly 15 years that they switched to the 18 format. So just a couple of different storylines that we need people to take a look at as they get ready for
the umps are out on the field. The official baseballs of the game have been brought out as well. That's the first time I've ever seen that. There's a bucket of baseballs.
They've done that in the series, but it's beautiful when you see it, and that's what happens when you're able to get to the ballpark.
Oh man,
you pick up all these little nuances, and it's really cool. Baseball, while a lot of the patch is in football, in the South in general, and the SWAC has the historic history of football, and now bringing in family Bethune-Cookman that has their own historic history. Good stuff in basketball, but it's just something about the diamond and being outside that is magical. And all of these programs have great baseball history with people making it to the major leagues over the years. Fascinating.
Last that.
Quickly. Go ahead.
Can you name the only three programs, there have been 4 programs who have not made it to the SWAC championship game?
Fortunately, I know one of them is Valley.
Correct. Valley has made it to the championship game.
Oh, yeah, they had it with Shankers.
They haven't won one, but they have made it to the
because
championship.
Prairie View beat it one time.
Yeah.
All 4 ones made it because they won it. So 2 of them has to be FAMU.
It's a trick question. Yes, I was gonna say that's part of it. That's a trick question. Yeah.
Alabama A&M has not been
Correct. Well, I'll give you one more. That has not made it to the championship.
Grambling has. So I guess the only one jumps out would have to be College.
That would be correct. Have not made it to
They had a run.
in the tournament format. Have never made it to the championship game.
Okay, so that's pretty good. Hey, a couple of quick
elimination works. 2 of them easy though.
We are not far away from the first pitch, as you can see, both teams. Yeah, exactly. So I want to be real quick here. A couple of questions that have come up in the chats. One, about Veets. A lot of people surprised that Hunter Veets is not starting. Will we see Hunter Veets? Is he available? Should it become possible? What happened here?
Umpires.
Oh, okay. The umpires, Brian Clark on home plate, Randall Montgomery at first, Joseph Smith at second, Kevin Bradley is the third base umpire. So
I love the fact that they had the 4 umpires for these games in the championship. They will go to 6 and they'll put 1 on the line.
right. So we'll see, will we see Hunter Veets today? I think a lot of people.
No, I think they're going to try to save him. If they believe they can find a way to muscle through this, they can save him for the championship game. If it gets close, and they need him to think of something about getting to the championship game, then you'll see them. But they would love to find a way to try to get it done.
I would think if Veets were to come in, it may be in a
1 or 2 out.
Yeah, you may need to get that third out of an inning or something along that line in like the 7th or the 8th inning to set up your closer. That's when you could pull out possibly a Veets. That's just my opinion, because all arms are on deck. Even if you can't give me number 10, 15 pitches, you have to be able to use.
And
seem pretty loose.
And on the Alabama State side, Melendez, again, there's a little surprise about Melendez and saying, hey, how many innings will you get from Melendez sort of being that closer? Will we see the entire roster of available relief pitchers for Alabama State today? This will be interesting.
Well, you can't play for a championship game unless you get there.
Unless you get there.
If you get into this, if things look like they're getting away, you're going to do it. If you need to do something to give a little spark, you'll do it. So, yeah, I think all hands are on deck in regard. And you worry about Sunday when you get to Sunday, but you want to get there first, which means you're going to do what you have to do.
And real quick, before we end, a quick thought about Grambling and Bethune-Cookman. What's maybe one thing that you may be looking forward to or watching in that contest?
Can Grambling continue to get the bats going?
Okay.
When they get the bats going and they swing well, they can defeat anybody. They pitch nice, solid, but really is when Grambling is Grambling, can they get the bats going, which means on the other side, can Bethune-Cookman throw enough pitches at them to keep them off their groove in regards to making a difference. So it's going to be fascinating to see what that looks like. Obviously, somebody that is more of a fan of the West, I'm hoping Grambling can find a way to get it done to mix up this home threat of Florida and Bethune-Cookman, the Florida schools, getting in the championship game and facing off, which would be wonderful in one way. But, yeah, we got to throw that off. We can't let the new kids on the block have that much fun this early.
I love Jeremiah Clark. We love you, right? He said, me, AD, and Dr. Cavil are all very educated and very wrong. So we'll see. All right, it's time to get ready to roll. Yes. Oh, sorry. All right. I don't know what that means, but okay. Time to get ready to go as they're doing the national anthem here in the ballpark. Don't forget, you can watch the game, SWAC Digital Network, youtube.com/@SWAC1920, or just search SWAC Digital Network. That's where you can find the game. FAMU, Alabama State about to start. 30 minutes after the conclusion of that game will be Grambling State and Bethune-Cookman.
So make sure you have one iPad, TV, however you do it at home, on the SWAC Digital Network, and the other one on BCSN for the Collins Brown show. That way you can see both of them.
Right. All right. We're going to close out the show and get ready for Carlos Brown coming up. I know he's got a vent about Southern, so but he's got a good guest lineup today. So we'll talk about that coming up here. That's going to do it for AD. Deuce in the background. Shout out, Deuce. Give a shout out to the people. Say what's up, Deuce. Deuces. All right. Yeah, Doc and Brian, I'm out. You guys take care, be well, and we will see you
Of course.
lecture.
Yes, yes.